Well, hey everyone, it's Mike with Screaming Eagle Bass Catcher. I'm here today doing maintenance on my 2020 Ranger RT 188P bass boat with the 115 Pro XS Mercury outboard on it. This will be my first maintenance on the boat. I purchased it last year around June, so it's a little over a year since I did anything to it. And I'm going to change the oil, I'm going to change the fuel filter, I'm going to change the lower unit oil and the oil filter on the engine as well. So I bought a kit and it has pretty much everything I need, and then I had to purchase the fuel filter and the gear lube separately. But looks like it's going to be a pretty easy maintenance, and so let's get to it. Let me show you what I got. All right, I got pretty much everything laid out here. As you can see, I got some tools. These are mostly for the lower unit. This is my fuel filter. Purchased it separately. Looks like it's an easy snap-on, snap-off type. My gear lube is the Quicksilver, which is Mercury recommended. I have a training pan, of course, for the lower unit. This here is the kit that I bought. Let me show you what comes with it. So it comes with everything you need, which is 5 quarts of 1030 oil. It comes with a drain tube, which will hook onto the motor. I'll show you. We got our little oil filter, and it comes with directions. So that's pretty cool. If you're not familiar, you can take a look at the directions and check it out. All right. So what you need to do first is lift your engine up as far up as it can go, elevate it, get that engine oil from the backside down so that it will drain correctly. Do that for at least 10 minutes, and once you get that done, then you could lower the motor. Don't hit the skag. All right, so we have it lowered, and first thing I want to do is take off the cover, the cowl. Just want to unlatch it in the back and pick up on it in the front. All right. So now that we have the cover off, let's see what is under the cover and go through that a little bit. So we have our dipstick, of course, and there's the fuel or the oil filter, sorry, which I guess it's going to be a white one this time, but looks the same. It'll do the same. And down in here is where the fuel filter is, and we'll see about popping that out and show you how to do that. And this is the oil reservoir where you pour your oil back into, and it'll take 5 quarts exactly, and this is what we'll fill it up at. So let's get started and see what we need to do here. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to attach this rubber hose here. Okay, so that's on there, not going anywhere. We're good to go. So what we'll end up using is a 5/8 wrench, and I'll come in here and I'll get it started. But I want to get my oil pan down first, so let's do that. So you can put the oil into a oil pan, or you can put it into a bucket or some kind of container. It'll be fine. I'm gonna just see about draining it down there. Hopefully it won't make a mess. Okay, so what you want to make sure is that when you loosen this, you don't over loosen it. There's a seal in there that could break, and if it does, then the price of your oil change just went up substantially. So what you want to do is just slowly open it up till you start seeing the oil come out. You definitely don't want to hit here comes the oil. So you don't want to go too far and break that seal. So you got to the point where it's hand loosened now, and as you can see, the oil is starting to come out nice and strong. So all right, so I'm not gonna make you watch all the oil draining. All right, so another thing to maybe speed up the oil draining out would be to loosen the little cap here, and maybe some of the air will help, push it out so there's not a siphon or anything. I don't know if it'll help that much or not, but as you can see, it is draining nicely. All right, now what I'm going to do is, while that is still draining, I'm going to go ahead and replace the oil filter. Okay, so what I want to do here is pop the tap there, get a little bit of oil on my finger, and you want to coat this gasket, this O-ring gasket here, this rubber gasket. You want to coat it just so it doesn't get hard and stuck on the motor for next time I change it. And over here you have a little drain that you could pop out, and if there's any oil in here, I'm guessing that there's not going to be much oil in here today. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little rag underneath it, and I'm going to get this off. All right, let's see about taking off this oil filter here. I think I'm going to pull the dipstick out. All right, so I got my rag stuffed down in here, and I'm going to take off this oil filter. I have a oil filter wrench that will fit it, so I'm just going to use that. You might be able to take it off by hand or by just getting another wrench. Let me see if I can get that started. Starting to move. There we go. All right. All right, so you should be able to undo it now by hand. There's a little catch basin here, and then if it does catch anything, then you can hook it up to a hose and drain it out. Let's see what we get here. All right, so let me show you. See that little catch basin there, which is nice. Nothing dripped in it, and so it's a nice clean way of getting your oil filter off. So that's good. All right, I'm gonna wipe off that little bit of excess oil that's on there. And we're ready to put our new filter on. You want to make sure you don't cross the threads. Make sure you get it on there straight. Make sure you don't, if you run into a hard spot before it gets on there, back off. You don't want to cross those threads. And once you get it on there, you want to get it nice and hand tight, but real nice and tight on there so you don't have the leaks. So there we are. And if you want to, you can write down with a marker the date you did it or whatever. I use an app that keeps up with all my oil changes and all my equipment, my motorcycles, and trucks and all that stuff. And so I don't put anything on the filter, but I know when to change it again. All right, well, as you can see, it's just dripping very slowly, so I'm pretty much got it drained. I'm happy with the amount that I got out. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to tighten it back. Just be careful when the hose is on here, because you can fling around oil. So just take your time and get it where it's finger tight, and then get your wrench in there. Once you feel it getting tight, you want to not crank down too hard, but just give it a nice little push there, and you can pull your hose off. Take a little rag and just make sure everything is nice and dry in there. You don't want a bunch of oil dripping down. Not a bunch of oil, it'd just be a couple drops, but you know what I mean. You just don't want oil dripping on your motor or on your floor. All right, so that part's done. Now all we have to do is fill the crankcase with the 5 quarts of oil that the kit came with. So let's do that. All right, so got the oil, got the hole we got to put the oil in. You want to do it nice and easy so you don't spill. Once you get it up there, you don't even need a funnel. Just put it up there and let it drain. Make sure you get all that oil out of there if you can. It's recommended for 5 quarts, and they give you 5 quarts, so you don't want to short it any. All right. Well, I won't waste your time on 4 more quarts, so I'm going to finish this up and we'll go to the next project. All right. Well, that was the last of the oil, so I'm going to put my oil plug back in, cap. Good. I think first thing I want to do now is go and check the oil on the dipstick, see how we're looking. All right, might be hard to see, but basically there's an area between here and here, about 2.5 inches wide, and I'm right in the middle of that. So I'm not too full, I'm not too low. The add button is down here, the add line is here. So you don't want to overfill it, and you also don't want to have to add. So I think I'm in the right place. Put that back in. All right, let's check out this fuel filter situation here. Now there is a line on it, okay, for the flow. You want to make sure that you copy that with what's on there, which is not too hard to do because they are very similar looking, and if you just put it in the same direction, you want the arrow kind of facing the back of the motor. So those little red tabs right there, those are little push tabs. You push on those and you can pull the filter away from it. So let's give that a try, see how that works. Okay, we got the back one off fairly easily. Here we go. A little bit of gas in there, so be careful pulling that out. But it was quite easy. So I'm gonna wipe that down and put this over here in the tray. Didn't spill that much. I just don't want any gas on there if I can help it. All right, so the new one, I'm gonna just do it the opposite way. So I'm gonna start with the back one, or I'm sorry, the front one. I'm gonna push it in, hear it snap, and then I'm going to, I'll show you this one here. So I got the front one in and it snapped, and there's a little you know, clamp right there which it fits in. Here's the back one. It's not in there all the way yet, so I'm just gonna push it on there. Heard it snap. Won't come off. Looking good. So now what you need to do once you get the filter in there is we need to prime that filter with some fuel. So I'm gonna come over here. I'm gonna turn on my, don't start your engine, just turn it on, and you should hear the pump start and start pushing, so it should be good. I'm gonna try it again just to make sure I'm getting gas in there, so I'm gonna turn it off. All right. It's hard to tell if there's fluid in there, but good news is that it doesn't look like it's leaking, so I think we're good. All right, so we just finished doing oil change, oil filter, and fuel filter change. So we're done with the top part of the motor. So I'm gonna get ready to start on the lower unit, changing that oil. I'll go through that with you guys here, and we'll get it done. So let me get this cover back on. Make sure you snap it in good. There we go. All right. Well, let's get started on the lower unit then. All right, guys. Working on this lower unit, there's a few things you have to do to get that oil out. In some of the older motors, they used to have, you know, the drain hole down at the bottom over here. You drain it. No longer are they doing that, at least not with the Mercuries. The drain hole is actually behind the prop. So we'll be taking the prop off, which is not a big deal. As you can see inside here, there's a couple little flanges that stick out, little tits, I call them, stick out, and they hold the nut from wanting to back off. So the first thing we'll do is we'll knock these down, flatten them out so that we can take this nut off. All right, and you can do that from this position. It'd be easier than lowering it. Once we get the prop off, then we'll lower it down and then start draining the oil. All right, so there's a couple ways of knocking down the little tits. You could put an 1/1/16. That's the size you need, 1/1/16. And you want a deep well if you have it. Try to get a deep well. Deep well socket is the way to go. So I'm just gonna put the socket on there now. You can pound them down with, you know, screwdriver, flathead screwdriver, but I'm just gonna knock them down with with this here. Just a couple little taps there. Really flattens it out, so I think it's good. Now I'm going to see if I can get this. Yeah, see, it's not very hard. It's not torqued down too much. It is a locking type nut on there, which is nice. That also helps it from wanting to back out. But always use those flanges to lock it in. You definitely don't want to lose your prop. All right, so getting it hand loose. All right, so nut come right off. As you can see, like I said, it's a locking type nut, so that's good. All right, so first thing you do is you take off this little washer here. This little washer comes with the that little flange. Okay, so you pull this out. And what we can pull off next will be the prop. So let's see if we can do that. And the prop just pulls off nicely. Okay, nothing to it. All right. So now, what we have here is we have this flange here, and this flange needs to come off. So let me see if I can pull it off with two hands. Yep, there it is. Just need a little leverage. Knew the screwdriver would come in handy today. All right. So this flange will only go on one way. It's a conical flange, so it's got a cone. I don't know if you can see in there, a cone type of flange. So it can only fit in one way. If it goes this way, it'll stop right there. So you can't go wrong. You know, it'll sit in there, seat all the way down. So I'm gonna put that away, and looks like I might have a little bit of fishing line or something. Yeah, looks like I got braided fishing line around it. I don't know when I picked that up, but if you see it, it's best to, you know, take it off, throw it away. All right, so you can see that flathead nut right there. That's the drain plug, so we will be taking that out, but not until we lower down the engine and get it all set up and ready to do that. All right, so let's lower this engine down onto my drain pan. I just have a regular cooking basin or whatever pan. You can use whatever, a bucket. You just want to get this engine far down without. Okay, that's about as low as I can go. All right. So for this part of the process here, you want to get a 10 millimeter. If you have a deep, that works good, deep well. an extension, and you want to take that nut out. Okay, you see, bolt. All right, you could do it with a screwdriver as well, it looks like. So if you don't have a 10 millimeter. As you can see, it's not draining. Well, the reason it's not draining is because right up here, this little screw, once we take it out, there won't be a suction problem, and so it will, it should just drain right out. So let's get this screw off. Okay. Well, as you can see, we are now getting plenty of drainage. All right. So we're going to let this drain for a while. I want to make sure that get as much out of it as possible. Then I'll show you how to refill it. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with filling it up and finishing the project. All right. So it's time to start filling the lower unit. And to do so, I'm going to use the 90 weight gear lube that came from Bass Pro Shops. I bought it actually, but you can pick it up probably at any marina store or whatever, bait store, you might have it. But anyways, you have to pump it in. And so this is my pump here. They make a couple different kinds. Here's another one here. Basically, it has threaded end. And what you would do is you would twist this on to connect to the lower unit. This one here I borrowed from my brother-in-law Richard because I didn't think I had mine. I couldn't find it at first, and so I did actually find it, so I'm going to use mine. But thanks for letting me borrow it, Richard. Appreciate it. And these here you get at Walmart. I think he said they're like $10 or $12. They're not too expensive. I think you can also get them at Bass Pro Shop. I'm gonna work with mine since I already have it ready. So, like I said, there's a screwed in, a threaded end that you need to screw into the lower unit. So let's see if I can do this. You want to screw it in all the way, just so the oil won't leak out between the threading. All right, so I got that screwed in. Now what you want to do is you're going to want to pump oil into the unit, and with this screw out of the hole up here, once the fluid gets up to that point, then you're full. So let's do that. Just keep an eye on it. All right, as you can see, it is dripping out. So what I want to do is I want to put my little flathead screw back in there and close it off. Just try not to, cross thread. Make sure you get nice and snug. All right. Well, all right. So what I like to do is, once I got it full, you have to take this bottom screw out again, and there might be a little bit comes out, so I'm just going to give it an extra pump. I don't think it will hurt anything. And let's get this bottom unit out. See, it's coming out a little bit, so I want to get my screw in there. Just make sure you don't cross thread anything. All right, so okay, it's pretty tight, and we are full, so we will get this cleaned up and put the prop back on. All right, so we got the lower unit oil filled, cleaned up, wiped on, wipe off all the extra oil and everything. Time to put the prop back on, and shouldn't be too difficult. So let's start off with the first piece, which is the cone washer. That will just slide on. It just fits nice and snug right there. All right. Then what we want to put on is the prop. So just line it up, make sure. There we go. Looks good. And then we're going to put the, I guess you call it like a prop keeper. It's got the splines, which will line up on the splines on the shaft. And then you have these little square notches here. So those little square notches will fit inside the notch that's on the prop. Sometimes you might have to put it in there and turn the prop until it just fits right. There we go. Lift up on the prop, whatever you have to do. But that is now in there. Let me show you. So, like I said, you can slide it in there, and now we'll lock it down with the keeper and the nut. On this thing here, you have two little tits that stick up. So this piece here, you see the little notches in it. Those will fit right over, and they lock down so it can't twist like that. So you want to make sure you get it locked down on those tits right there. And then we put our locking nut on. Be very careful not to cross thread this. This is a fine thread. They're easy to cross thread, so just be careful with that. Once you get it down to the locking part, we'll have to use a ratchet, and we'll do that now. All right, so I want to tighten down my nut here. Okay, so we got down to the bottom of the threads with the nut. So I'm going to crank it a little bit, not too bad, because if you remember, it wasn't too hard to loosen it. Okay, so if you look inside now, you see I got to pull these tabs up and kind of push them against the flat end of the flat side of the nut. And then that will help hold it from wanting to work its way loose. So to do that, we're gonna use our screwdriver, maybe the hammer, we'll see, but hopefully we can just kind of, oh yeah, they're pretty soft, not too bad. So let me show you. So you can see right there, I got it pushed up a little bit. I'm going to push it up a little bit further and kind of lock it in. All right. So that right there is kind of the finished product. It doesn't have to be flat up against it. As long as it's up against it, touching, it will not go anywhere. So we are ready to go fishing. So this is the end of my project today. Feel good. I know I saved some money doing it myself. This is not a very hard or difficult project to do if you have the right tools. Hopefully I showed you what tools you'll need. Just make sure you have everything ready. That way you can just get it done. Take you maybe an hour to do the whole thing. It'll save you some money. So this oil change ended up costing less than $100. That was oil change, fuel filter, and lower unit oil. Now I had the little pump, so it might bring you right at the $110 mark or so with that. But realistically, it's a $100 service that I just did, and not sure what they would charge you elsewhere, but I know I saved money, so I'm happy and can't wait to get out on the water. Thanks. All right, guys, done with the project. Worked very well. No problems, no issues. I'm ready to go fishing. So if you like my videos, if you like what I'm doing here, please subscribe and share the videos for me. And I'm ready to go fishing, so I'll see you out on the water.